Jason Rapert is a former Arkansas state senator. He's the founder and the president of the National Association of Christian Lawmakers, NACL. The NACL was launched at a charter meeting in August of 2020 in Destin, Florida, so it's just 5 years old. The NACL serves local, state, and federal elected official members and supporters in all 50 states and Puerto Rico. And boy, have they accomplished a lot in those 5 years. The NACL is cited by historians as the first formally organized national association of Christian lawmakers ever formed in the history of the U.S. Now, when he was in the Arkansas Senate, Senator Rapert passed historic legislation, including, I believe, the nation's first pro-life heartbeat bill. He's also been a financial and investment professional for most of his career. He's a radio host, a bluegrass fiddle player, an eloquent spokesperson for his faith, and a great friend of the Economic War Room and our Pirate Money Initiative. When I need legislative insight, Jason is one of the first calls that I will make. He's helped us with insight, wisdom, and contacts, and I'm honored to serve on his advisory board and to support NACL. Welcome, Senator Rapert.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be with you, and just thank you for your voice in our country and all that you do to support God and country in so many different ways.
You know, I'm curious. You're in the financial industry. You're in Arkansas. You're obviously well-connected. You're a powerful Christian voice. I think you're even ordained. What took you into politics?
Well, that's a big question, and so I will just tell you, being that this is the month of my anniversary, I've been married 35 years, Kevin, to my beautiful wife, Laurie, and we worked our way through college, built a business, raising our family, and I actually am ordained in the ministry. Our ministry is Holy Ghost Ministries, and we still have that. And we were doing mission work in Ghana, West Africa. We were building schools. We were helping build tabernacle churches. We were doing water projects. And literally, God began to deal with me. And then he sent people that would say, Jason, have you considered running for office? Now, you got to remember, this is Barack Obama as president at the time, right? And it began to stir in me. And so I began to pray into it, which is what I encourage everyone to do about decisions. And as I began to pray about this, I'll be honest with you, Kevin, I was looking for somebody to say, no, Jason, you just stay focused on ministry and what you're doing. God was blessing our business, Kevin, and we were able to pour out thousands of dollars to help people that never have an opportunity. And so I began praying, though, and literally in the early weeks of 2010, very clearly, God answered my prayer, and I felt it just like a message in a conversation to say, Jason, why are you not sacrificing to serve at home at the same level that you've been sacrificing to serve overseas now that your country is in trouble? So I resigned from Merrill Lynch, Kevin, and I walked away with the shoes on my feet, the shirt on my back, and me and a buddy formed a new financial services practices, and I ran for office the first time in my life and was the first Republican elected since the Civil War in my district in Arkansas. And I was elected, and I was still in the minority, and in 2 more years, we were kind of those freedom fighters for conservatism in Arkansas. And for the first time in 138 years in 2012, Republicans took a majority in the state of Arkansas, and I got to be part of that. And I did get to be a part of some really wonderful legislation. March the 6th of 2013, I passed the nation's very first heartbeat bill that was passed into law. And of course, that came with a lot of court battles, and it came with a lot of new education for me, which was death threats and harassment at levels that I had never seen. And that process that we went through helped lead to what we have formed in the National Association of Christian Lawmakers. And I know we don't have a lot of time today, so I can't go through everything, but I will tell you, when the state police tell you to have your family leave the state so that they can properly vet credible death threats, it's a new moment in your progress as an elected official. And you begin to really question, is this really are we doing the right thing? Your family's looking at this. And God took us through that, refined us, if you will, through the fire. They had called us everything, accused us of everything. When they couldn't kill the bill, they decided to basically take out the man, take out the messenger, right? And we survived that situation, and that helped lead to the formation of the National Association of Christian Lawmakers.
Well, what I love about that, Jason, is you were injecting Holy Spirit ministry into the legislature, at the same time practical, common financial sense, and you're taking that and merging it into the legislature, and that's how you form the NACL, which is fabulous. Let's roll a clip from your website that explains the who and why of NACL.
In 1802, Alexander Hamilton penned a letter urging the creation of a Christian constitutional society. Fast forward to today, and the National Association of Christian Lawmakers is championing those principles. Our founding fathers referenced God in the Declaration of Independence, recognizing the divine origin of our natural rights. Enter the National Association of Christian Lawmakers, where elected officials unite to uphold biblical principles. Unlike any other organization, NACL crafts legislation grounded in a biblical worldview, aiming to safeguard our nation's foundation. Today, as far-left extremists threaten our values, NACL stands firm against the assault on faith, marriage, sexuality, and more. Now, more than ever, we seek elected officials and Christians ready to defend our Judeo-Christian heritage. Join us today at ChristianLawmakers.com to protect faith, freedom, and the values that make America great.
Now, Jason, I know you've just, we covered that. You have legislation across the board at the federal, at the state, the local level. They're members and parts of this, but you've got a particular emphasis on state legislators. We have less than a minute left. Explain why in the Constitution the state legislature is so important.
Well, we are supposed to be a constitutional republic based on federalism. And so we have 50 state governments in this country, and much of what you've seen accomplished around the nation is actually happening at the state legislatures because Congress is so divided. So we do have local, state, and federal elected officials, but many of our top leaders across the country in the NACL are state senators and state representatives, and we want them to come and be a part of what we do.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I need to hold you over because we're going to dive deeper into the NACL and what a difference it's making in our world as Christians. In uncertain times, finding stability in the economy can feel challenging. But what if you could navigate economic volatility while honoring your biblical values? At Timothy Plan, they believe this balance is possible. Timothy Plan filters its volatility-weighted ETFs and family of mutual funds through a biblical pro-life and pro-family lens, so you can see competitive returns and moral responsibility, helping you to weather the economic storms. With Timothy Plan, align your investments with your values while adapting to our ever-changing culture. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has been recognized leader in biblically responsible investing. Timothy Plan, your bridge between faith, finances, and the future. Visit timothyplan.com or call 1-800-TIM-PLAN or 1-800-846-7526. Investing includes risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com.
Gold holds its value far better than the US dollar. Let's see what happens when I go in the sweet shop and pay with gold. Can I pay with gold?
I mean, I'll take a wait, find out how much it costs.
Do you know what? Basically, do you know why I'm even using gold?
I do not.
It holds its value over time, but it's a bit difficult to spend, isn't it? Do you take this?
Yes.
That's MasterCard. Yeah, but this is I'm actually going to pay with gold, believe it or not. Using this. That's my MasterCard, and it's linked to my gold wallet. So let's just watch that. Authorizing. Yeah, add a tip.
Thank you.
So this is your store?
Yes, sir.
And how much gold did I pay?
0.2243 grams.
Yeah, success. Bought with gold, paid with glitz.
We're talking with former state senator Jason Rapert from Arkansas. He's been a dear friend for many years. And he is the founder, the visionary, the guy that makes happen the NACL. But he couldn't do it alone. He's actually recruited some of the best and the brightest people across the United States to bring this vision together, the first ever in history of a Christian lawmakers group. You can learn more at christianlawmakers.com. All right, Senator Rapert, it's one thing to talk about NACL as an idea. How did it start, and what has the growth been like? You're only 5 years old.
That's right. Well, as I mentioned earlier in the program, the NACL began to result as experience, right, that we were having. So obviously, when you're running legislation and you're out battling for pro-life issues, battling for God and country issues, religious freedom, you have a lot of people say, we're praying for you. But as you know, Kevin, sometimes when the fire comes and the attacks come, a lot of those folks are way behind. They're back there praying, but they're not necessarily standing there when you're getting talked about on ABC and NBC and CBS. And so we begin to ask the question, and I begin to ask leaders like Governor Mike Huckabee, that's now ambassador to Israel, and I've been a friend and worked with Governor Huckabee. I said, why do we not have a National Association of Christian Lawmakers? We've got teacher associations, we've got banker associations, we've got truck driving associations. Why do we not have this? And do you know, Kevin, we actually had a National Association of Jewish Lawmakers, but we did not have an NACL. It was kind of strange, and people would say, I don't know why we don't, but you need to do this. So I talked to a friend, Congressman Bob McEwen, and by the way, he's on the advisory board with you, as is Ambassador Huckabee, Tony Perkins. In fact, Tony had me on a radio program, I believe it was in the end of 2018, and he said, this is an organization whose time has come. And so we just decided we're going to form. And we formed the entity. The charter launch was in 2020. And we now have members and supporters in all 50 states. And we are the only faith-based para-legislative group. Now, sometimes people say, what is that? Well, para-legislative organizations are organizations, they're not government, but they're run by government officials. So the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, those are government officials, but the NAIC is not the government. ALEC, American Legislative Exchange Council, incorporates in their private-public partnership, they incorporate legislative leaders. NCSL, CSG, Southern Legislative Council, I could go on. Well, NACL is the only one that very overtly says we are a faith-based entity, and we believe that we should consider our laws from a biblical worldview. And so they formed 8 standing committees, which makes up what's called the National Legislative Council. And we have officers and chairs that make up that body. So for instance, right now, Representative John McCravey of South Carolina is the presiding chair. Representative Sarah Vance of Alaska is the first vice chair. Senator Ted Alexander of North Carolina is the second vice chair. And the third vice chair is Representative Bill Riley. And then outside of that, the states have chairs and vice chairs for their states, but then you have the working committees. They worked on a number of legislative proposals, including gold and silver transactional currency. We're pretty proud that we were the first of those para-legislative groups that endorsed that policy as a national model, which you were right in the middle of that and led in that discussion. And I've been so happy to see that many of our members have brought that legislation to law. It's actually law now. Are we at 5 states now,
5 states,
Kevin?
yes.
5 states. And you did a wonderful video here the other day talking about all the members of NACL and how they'd worked on that. And we've also helped, if you talked with Rocky Malloy of National School Chaplains Association, we brought the first national model on that based on the bill they passed in Texas. He told me the other day that now there's as many as 29 states have passed and are considering that bill in 29 different states. And so we work on a number of issues, whether it's pro-life issues. We believe that life is from conception, whether it's religious freedom, religious liberty, or on that. And in addition to that, we also really emphasize our Judeo-Christian foundation in the country. And we have an America-Israel committee, and of course, because of the October 7th event where Israel was terribly attacked and invaded, we've done a lot of work to support our friendship with Israel, because we do know that the Bible says Blessed are those who bless Israel. Cursed are those who curse Israel. So you find at the NACL that we have pulled together people that many of our faith-based organizations want to know and really should know. And so what's awesome, in some ways, the Lord has allowed us to set a table, much like in 1 Corinthians, we're talking about the body of Christ, right? We have the hand, the foot, the leg, the eye, and we want all those different faith-based organizations to come and be a part of our organization and contribute and get to know our members, because many of those members, just like with you, Kevin, and what you do with gold and silver transactional currency, they've become your champions in some of the arenas where you've been fighting. And so we have 2 policy conferences in person every year right now. We have a national policy conference that typically meets at Liberty University in May or June. And then coming up this year, October 31st and November the 1st is our 10th in-person national conference and our 5-year anniversary celebration. That will be at College of the Ozarks in wonderful Branson, Missouri. And we invite everyone to come and be a part of that. They can go to christianlawmakers.com and begin to get information. Registration is about to open soon.
That's fantastic. Well, I'll read your mission statement. The mission of National Association of Christian Lawmakers is to bring federal, state, and local lawmakers together in support of clear biblical principles by meeting regularly to discuss major issues, propose model statutes, ordinances, and resolutions to address major policy concerns from a biblical worldview. So if people are wanting to vote their convictions from the Bible, they ought to be voting for NACL members. And I can tell you firsthand, whether we go to Representative Doug Bankson in Florida, or Mark DeRazio, Representative DeRazio in Texas, or Mindy McAlinden, representative in Arkansas, or Senator Jim Dotson in Arkansas. You know, across the board, Senator Raymond Cruz, representative in Louisiana, they're all NACL members, affiliates, supporters, and so forth. That's how we passed gold and silver legislation in such a short time, because we had people who said, wait a minute, is this in the Bible? And like David Barton, when he looked at it, he said, is it biblical? Yes, let's support it. And we, by the way, Senator, we just had David Barton here teaching at Liberty Hawk Ranch last week to the American Journey Experience, and I know he worked with you on the 10 Commandments legislation that's passed in so many states. This is a coming together of Bible-believing Christians and lawmakers to make our world a better place. All right, we've got one more segment with Senator Jason Rapert. We'll be right back, and we'll be talking about Israel in particular, a hot topic.
I'm Kevin Sorbo. When you spend money, you consider who you're buying from and the causes they support? If you don't, then you're likely supporting companies that are trying to destroy our country and take away our freedoms. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They're a cell phone company, and a good one. They offer nationwide coverage on the best 4G and 5G networks, along with 100% US-based customer support. But here's the deal. Patriot Mobile's mission has nothing to do with cell phones. They carry out their mission by giving back millions of dollars every year to Christian conservative causes that are actively engaged in the fight to save America. Voting is no longer enough to beat the woke. We have to band together, support like-minded companies, and vote with our dollars. That's how we win. Stop supporting companies that want to destroy America and join Patriot Mobile today by visiting patriotmobile.com or call 972-PATRIOT.
I'm outside Babe's, which I'm told is the quintessential chicken restaurant here in Roanoke, Texas. Let's go and see if we can buy the food in here, chicken with gold.
It's gonna be the fried chicken.
This is unbelievable. How am I going to fit all this in? I seriously actually don't know how to begin with this. This is so overwhelming. Do you think I can pay with gold?
I don't know. You may have to ask the cashier. I don't handle it.
Can I pay with gold? But actually, you said I could pay with this? Okay, I'm going to pay with this, but I'm going to pay with gold. So look at the price of gold going up. That's pretty cool, yeah? Right, this is Babes, yeah? How much gold did I pay? Gold, how many grams?
0.26.
0.26, quarter of a gram of gold. How about that?
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, yeah. Success! Bought with gold, paid with glint.
We've been talking with Senator Jason Rapert from the NACL, National Association of Christian Lawmakers. It's a relatively new organization that punches well above its weight from longevity, but certainly not above its weight in terms of the quality of people that were involved. You know, through this you can meet with now Ambassador Mike Huckabee, former governor, or Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who's spoken to their group, or Bob McEwen, former congressman, just amazing people that have come through, Bishop E.W. Jackson, and so many great friends. And they meet at Liberty University, Museum of the Bible, College of the Ozarks. I mean, just incredible meeting. It's a great opportunity. I've been to several of their conventions. And I'm telling you, it's like coming home. There's a combination of worship of the Lord and meeting friends and fellowship and great food, but also getting things done, which I like. And people can support it by prayer, sponsorship, membership, attendance. And again, would you repeat for us the best place for people to learn more? And then we'll talk about a couple of other things. Where do we learn more?
Thank you, Kevin. The best place is to go to ChristianLawmakers.com. You can see a history of the NACL there. You can become a member right online. And you can also find who the state chair or vice chair is in a particular state and review our National Advisory Board just like you. And we're developing a full list of all of our model legislation. Currently, we kind of exceeded the bandwidth, and so we're having to do a workaround to get all of that on that particular website, but ChristianLawmakers.com is the best place to come.
All right, well, that's fantastic work you're doing there. I want you to take off your lawmaker hat just for a second and put on your financial professional hat. And I know these are tied together because we both know that in our industry that we share, which is the financial industry, that there's been this weaponization of Wall Street, politicization to turn Wall Street into taking America away from biblical principles into globalist principles through like ESG and so forth. And you worked at a big Wall Street firm, so you know what I'm talking about. How do people reflect in their investments their values? How can they do that?
Well, number one, people have a choice of what they put their money into. And if you work with good financial advisors, Kevin, you are one, and many others that have a biblical worldview, they can help make sure as best you can to try to make sure that your dollars are invested in things that do not violate your most closely fundamental held beliefs. And I think it's important, they say if you want to really know somebody, look at their checkbook. And there's so many times that through the years when I was working with investors and they say, look, I just don't want to put my money in a company that is out here fighting to keep abortion legal in the United States of America, or they didn't want to put their money into something that violated them when it related to maybe drugs or alcohol. There's many good ways to do that. But another thing that's important to you, we got a limited amount of time here, I know, but gold and silver, this is biblical. And it also was a rock bed of our nation when we were founded. And I want to applaud you for bringing this back up to the debate table, if you will, across the country, because we've seen that whether Democrats or Republicans, we're $36 trillion in debt. And it has just continued to grow. Finally, we have some discussion with President Trump and his administration about trying to turn this back the other way. One of the greatest things that President Trump might do is just go ahead and say, hey, gold and silver is currency. Use that pen and that paper just like he does on so many other issues, and allow this to come forth. And it's not to say that everybody puts every single asset in gold. You and I know that's not the right thing to do. But wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to go in and have lunch like you and I did a few weeks ago, and you use a card and have transactional gold and silver available where you could pay for lunch, or you could go to on a vacation, whatever you want to do. I think that's an important thing. When they are working hard to make cryptocurrency and these other new forms of currency available that, honestly, from my perspective, sometimes there's nothing to back them, why would you not want gold and silver? Because that has been a reserve of wealth since the beginning of time, and it's important for people to consider that as Christians, that you should consider that as a part of what you do.
All right, well, that's fantastic. And like the NACL, we have formed the National Security Investment Consultant Institute. You can learn more at nsic.org. National, meaning we believe in nation states, and security. Our ultimate security is found in the Lord Jesus Christ, but we also have personal security and we have national security and other things. And it's investment consultants who come together to bring a Judeo-Christian worldview. And I mentioned Judeo-Christian because I wanted to segue into the next topic. You're a strong supporter of Israel, and you talk about Israeli bonds. What are those, and how do they work? We just have a couple of minutes, but I want you to cover that.
Well, in 1948, the modern state of Israel was recognized, and the first country to recognize the modern state of Israel was Harry Truman, President of the United States. Shortly after that, Ben-Gurion was actually, I believe it was Ben-Gurion was in the United States and spoke out the concept of being able to allow people that are Jewish or otherwise that wants to support Israel to buy Israel bonds. And the United States government actually allowed the creation. It is a FINRA governed entity. It's called Israel Bonds. But the sole thing they do is allow people that want to support Israel to park money there in a bond that they're going to get back in 1 month, 6 months, a year, 5 years, just like other bonds. But it allows them to sow. We know it's important when you sow into something. And those that bless Israel. Well, with Israel and what's been going on, one of the greatest ways that cities, counties, and states can support them is to use some of the money that they might otherwise park in a bank CD or another bond instrument to put a portion as appropriate into Israel bonds. So I carried the legislation years ago, Kevin, to allow the state of Arkansas to invest in Israel bonds. Recently, the Arkansas Public Employee Pension Plan, Teachers Retirement Plan, decided to put money in Israel bonds. And many of our governments and localities have done the same. Here's the great thing, Kevin. We're not giving the money away. We're loaning it to them. They get to use it. They pay interest. They give it back. That's a key for government leaders out there. You're not giving away the money. You're loaning that money and getting it back. And it allows us, and I would say this, there's a lot of really great things that happened in my own personal state of Arkansas, but a lot of the prosperity that we have enjoyed happens to coincide with us investing in Israel bonds.
Well, that's amazing. And the notion is you ought to have your investments align with your beliefs. And if you believe the Bible as it's written, you should look for opportunities, whether it's Israel bonds or gold and silver or whatever aligns with your beliefs. Again, give us your website, and then I'll have to wrap up.
ChristianLawmakers.com. Really would love to hear from you. And if you want to become a member, we'd love for you to come and celebrate with us in October for our 5-year anniversary. Hopefully we'll have Kevin and many of our other advisors there.
All right, we're going to summarize all this in our free economic battle plan. You can get a copy at economicwarroom.com. Remember, what we see as a marketplace, our enemies view as a battle space. This is Kevin Freeman from the Economic War Room.